Thoughts seem to change over time, don't they? Before, I was a very optimistic boy when it came to most modern Godzilla movies, and now I'm a very pessimistic boy. Why? Find out on today's episode of Here Are the Monsters. Roll intro! Snippity snap, my fellow human beings and our fellow creatures of the cosmos. This is Sam the Geigen fan, and today we're going to be talking about why I think that every Godzilla movie from 2018 on, and by on I mean 2020, will suck. Let me just start off by saying that I don't actually think that all of these Godzilla movies will suck. When I say that something sucks, I usually imply that it's just god-awful, like Cloverfield Paradox or something like that. But here, I just think that a lot of these movies will be kinda disappointing. And I could title this video that, but honestly, but being real here, why future Godzilla movies will be disappointing is a lot more complicated to say than why future Godzilla movies will suck! So yeah, like I said, I think that most of these Godzilla movies will probably just be disappointing. And to elaborate further on why I think so, I'm just gonna go through each movie from here to there to see how, they might be disappointments. So, how about we talk about the first Godzilla movies that'll be coming out of the disappointment era, and that is the Godzilla anime films. Before I begin talking about this section, I just want to say that there will be spoilers for City on the Edge of Battle here. So if you don't want to be spoiled to that, then click to this point or whatever. I don't know. But if you don't care, then don't listen to this section. Just keep watching. Yeah. So let me just start off by saying that I think that right now the anime Godzilla films are the ones that are most likely to be the best out of them, and that's mostly because they're telling interesting stories for the most part. Kodob especially. If you know about the story of Kodob, then you know that it's kinda interesting. I mean, I think it's personally very interesting, and it's an idea that I definitely think can work. I'm not talking about why this whole idea with the nanometal and stuff and the Bill of Saluto's portrayal would be interesting. I'm talking about why Kodob will be disappointing, and that's because the one monster that is constantly advertised throughout the movie doesn't even make a proper appearance in it. So essentially, we get teased with Mechagodzilla, and we don't even get him. I think now no one has a right to say that Godzilla 2014 doesn't have any screen time because, I mean, look at anime Mechagodzilla here. The next kaiju discussion will be an addendum video on thoughts on 2018 Mechagodzilla, and essentially it's talking about, why I like the design so much, and at the end of the video, I'd basically state, oh, well, if you have a better argument for why this Mechagodzilla sucks, then tell me in the comments. Little did I know that Toho would be the one that would give me a better argument as to why I shouldn't like this Mechagodzilla, because they made such a radical redesign. This is one of the most flamboyant monster designs that we have ever seen in film. This thing screams, hey, look at me, I'm the center of attention, let me be in the movie. And yet he isn't even in it. That's kinda sort of the worst thing thus far this year. I would say that the Clover moment in Cloverfield Paradox is worse than this, but this whole thing with Mechagodzilla is a pretty darn close second. Because you have this character who you're constantly advertising, you're putting in the marketing, you're making a buttload of merchandise, you're basically just hyping up Mechagodzilla, and he isn't even in the movie. I still like this version of Mechagodzilla in general. I think the whole spiel with him and nanometal is really interesting, and it's probably my favorite interpretation of Mechagodzilla next to the Showa version. But I can't help but feel a little disappointed, and honestly, if he were to appear just as his normal Mechagodzilla form in this movie in general, then he would be my favorite version of Mechagodzilla. But because he doesn't, he's obviously my second favorite, so yeah. There are other things about Kodob that are honestly kind of disappointing and that are still leading me to be cautiously optimistic going into. The fact that a lot of people are saying that it's basically just the same thing as Potom doesn't help. And the fact that some of the characters are a bit more annoying this time doesn't exactly ease any of my tensions about Kodob, but I will still try to go into Kodob optimistically because, like I stated before, the whole spiel with the whole nanometal thing is really interesting to me, so I'll just wait and see how that'll turn out. And if it turns out that it's god-awful, then I'll make an hour-long rant on why the anime trilogy as a whole is just awful. But also, I guess you could say that a lot of these complaints are carried into Planet Yeet, because, I mean, you're also advertising Ghidorah, who is arguably the biggest member of the Big Five next to Godzilla and Mothra, and chances are, if you do a disservice to Ghidorah like you did with Mechagodzilla, then chances are I will probably hate Bottom 3. But whatever, I basically talked about everything with the anime trilogy. Now let's talk about the ones that are really the more disappointing out of the two. And those are the Monsterverse entries, Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong. So let's do that. To be 100% honest with you, everything that's happening with Godzilla King of the Monsters right now is the entire reason why this video exists. Because, honestly, I could have done a separate video talking about why the whole thing with Kodob is disappointing. I could talk about why Godzilla vs. Kong I think is disappointing. But Godzilla King of the Monsters was the Godzilla movie that I thought would be good throughout this whole era of possible disappointment. I don't know, it might be just as disappointing as everyone else. For those of you who don't know, earlier this week we got a sort of panel thing talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters, or just Godzilla in general, and we got some pretty cool looking news. We got a sort of teaser for King of the Monsters, even though technically it wasn't, because we never really got to see any new footage. Michael Dougherty released some new images that I could honestly care less about, and that's why I'm not really doing a whole lot of news updates about G-Condom in general. But honestly, the one decision that really wanted me to make this video is the fact that Godzilla King of the Monsters is being pushed back to May 31st instead of March 22nd. Now you're probably thinking that, oh well, you're just butthurt because you're gonna have to wait longer, and no, I'm not. The simple fact of the matter is that people who are defending this change are honestly just stretching for reasons, because people are always saying like, oh, there's more time to work on the special effects and stuff, and oh well, there's more time, you know, this and this, and just no. The problem with all of these things is that people are saying this movie could have more quality put into it, this movie could have better special effects, and honestly, the problem with a lot of 2010 stigma right now is that if something could work, that must mean that it must always work. Let me put it this way. This is the third time that Godzilla King of the Monsters has been pushed back from its original date. We got the first announcement that it was coming out June 2018, which basically would mean that we're gonna get it now if it stuck to that. And Gareth Edwards would direct it, which means there'd be like 2 minutes of King Ghidorah, but whatever. Then it was moved to March 22nd, 2019, which, alright, I can live with. I mean, came out on my birthday, so I live with that. And that was also because we got a new director, Michael Dougherty, and he clearly seems to know what he's doing, so I was like, yeah, I'm down with this. I'm major hype, y'all. But now that we have this movement back to May 31st, I can't help but feel slightly worried about it, because eventually, if you keep pushing something back long enough, it's gonna get to the point where people are gonna overhype it and are gonna be disappointed in the end. And honestly, King of the Monsters is the Godzilla movie that I want to be the most excited for, because it has 4 out of the big 5 monsters all in the same movie, and it's gonna be hecking awesome. Or at least that's what I thought before we got this announcement. This whole thing, when it came to this whole announcement, just soured my taste overall for King of the Monsters and its future. And I don't know if I stated this at the beginning, but this decision was the entire reason why this video exists. But who knows in the end? If Godzilla King of the Monsters turns out to be fantastic because of this delay, then who knows? But we'll have to wait until May 31st, 2019 to really, find out about all of that. So with all the G-Con stuff out of the way, it's time to get to the final Godzilla movie of the 2010s, and that is... Godzilla vs. Kong. One that I've always been pessimistic for from day one. And a lot of people have been really against me for holding this ideal, or a lot of people have been against this ideal that I hold, but here's the main reason why. The director, Adam Wingard. I don't have anything against Wingard himself, but the way he wants to go through this movie I don't know how to feel about it. For those of you who don't know, Adam Wingard made a statement back in 2017, which basically says, oh, well, I want this to be a just all-out big monster bash, and I want monsters just beating each other up throughout the entire movie. Alright, that's cool. If you just want an entire just group of monsters just going at it, I'm not against that. But he also says that he wants there to be an emotional story to go along with it, and just... Look, I'm not saying at all that I think that an emotional story with Godzilla vs. Kong can work. There's no such thing as a bad idea, only a bad execution. And an idea like this can work. But I will say that the whole decision to make Godzilla vs. Kong have this emotional story is because you're essentially making this emotional story to a movie that has blockbuster of the century written all over it with red circles and arrows pointing to it. I mean, the whole fight between Godzilla vs. Kong could be fun, and the fact that Wingard did also state that there is going to be a definite winner between the two does kind of make me a little excited for it, because, I mean, hey, it's King Kong versus Godzilla again. That's fun. But, I don't know, just out of all the Godzilla movies right now, this is the one I'm the least excited for. So that's really it for this video right now. But I want to ask you guys, what do you think of all of this? Do you guys think that these movies will be good, trash, or somewhere in between? Either way, this is Sam the Geigen fan telling you guys to not delay your movies over for like a bajillion years because it might make people disappointed. And remember to wash your hands.